The Legend of Good Women is a poem in the form of a dream vision by Geoffrey Chaucer. The poem is the third longest of Chaucer's works, after the Canterbury Tales and Troilus and Cressida, and is possibly the first significant work in English to use the iambic pentameter or decasyllabic couplets which he later used throughout the Canterbury Tales. This form of the heroic couplet would become a significant part of English literature, no doubt inspired by Chaucer. The prologue describes how Chaucer is reprimanded by the god of love and his queen, Alceste, for his works, such as Troilus and Cressida, depicting women in a pale light. Cressida is made to seem inconstant in love in that earlier work, and Alceste demands a poem of Chaucer extolling the virtues of women and their good deeds. For thy trespass and understand it here, thou shalt whyl that thou livest, year by year, the moster party of thy time spender in making of a glorious legend of God or woman, maideness and wivus, that weren't true in loving or I'll hear livus, and tell of false men that hem betrayin, that I'll hear lyf ne do not but assain. The poet recounts 10 stories of virtuous women in 9 sections. The legends are Cleopatra, Thisbe, Dido, Hypsipyle, Medea, Lucrece, Ariadne, Philomela, Phyllis and Hypermnestra. The work is a similar structure to the later Monk's Tale, and like that tale, and many of his other works, seems to be unfinished. Chaucer's sources for the legends include Virgil's Aeneid, Vincent of Beauvais, Guido del Collins' Historia Destructionis Troia, Gaius Julius Hyginus of Fabula, and Ovid's Metamorphoses and Heroides. The incomplete nature of the poem is suggested by Chaucer's retraction from the Canterbury Tales, which calls the work the XXV. Ladies 15 and 19 are also numbers used to describe the work. In the prologue several women are mentioned: Esther, Penelope, Marcia Catonis, Lavinia, Polyxena and Laodamia, whose stories are not recorded, and the 19 ladies in waiting of Alceste mentioned in the prologue might suggest an unfulfilled structure. The command of Queen Alceste is said, by John Lydgate in The Fall of Princes, to be a poetic account of an actual request for a poem by Anne of Bohemia, who came to England in 1382 to marry Richard II. If true, this would make Chaucer an early poet laureate. Joan of Kent, Richard's mother, is also sometimes considered a model for Alceste. The supposed royal command is one suggested reason for the poem's unfinished state, as Chaucer got bored with the task and gave up. Several passages hint at Chaucer's dissatisfaction. But for I am agroted, stuffed, here beforn to write of him that been in love fortorn, and eke to haste me in my legender, which to perform God me grace sender. Therefore I passe shortly in this wise. These lines, late in the poem, could simply be occupatio or paralipsis, the rhetorical device common in Chaucer of bringing up a subject merely to say you will not mention it. Whether the poem's state is due to Chaucer becoming bored with it is uncertain, but it is not now regarded among his best work, despite being popular when first written. One early fan is Chaucer's own character, the man of law, who praises Chaucer and the poem, which he calls Cintus Legenda of Cupida. The work is rather inconsistent in tone, with tragedy mixed rather uncomfortably with comedy, and the legends are all rather similar, with little of the characterization which is key to the Canterbury Tales. Some scholars have conjectured that the work is deliberately poorly written and the work is actually a satire against women, although this is not widely agreed with. Another idea is that it is a satire on the idea of taking stories of classical origin and twisting them to give them contemporary moral meanings. This would suggest that the poem is not only an early use of heroic couplets but also one of the first mock heroic works in English. The nature of the poem with its separate legends makes dating it difficult, but it is clearly placed between Troilus and the Tales around 1386-1388. Chaucer seems to have returned to the work a decade later to rewrite the prologue, but the latter text, which survives in only one manuscript, is generally considered inferior to the original. 1,000 times have I heard men tell, that there is yea in heaven, and pain in hell, and I accord well that it is so, but natheless, yit what I well also, that there is none dwelling in this country, that either hath in heaven or hell yb. Tennyson used the poem as theme for his own poem A Dream of Fair Women.